Hey, good morning, guys. So we are on, well, I don't know if it's morning where you are, but here it's morning. And I wanted to say that we are starting Psalm 55 this week. I know Renee had asked me what kind of pencils I sketch with here. This is a Prismacolor Color Erase, COL-Erase pencil. And I use it in all my sketchbooks. Just because it's a colored pencil, it kind of fades into the background a little bit more when you're painting, and shows up on camera and is erasable. So those all satisfy what I need in a pencil. This painting, we have done something similar to this one before, but when I was praying through this week's psalm, I just saw because the words that this psalm is a deeply personal psalm, and when I was just kind of meditating on it and trying to get a picture, the part that brought me encouragement was that we get to cast our fears on Him. And I don't want to just, very quietly come and bring them to the altar and give them to Him, or to the foot of the cross and give them to Him. I literally want to, in joyful excitement, throw my cares up at Him, almost like leaves I saw, So there's a lot of symbolism in this one for me. So she is going to be casting her fears up at the Lord in praise, in an understanding that when we cast our fears upon Him, that He takes them and He holds them. So that's my thought, is that to me, it's a joyful privilege of a child of God that we get to throw or cast our fears upon Him. So that's what she's doing. And what's eventually going to happen is there'll be sort of like these browns and leaves around her, and she's just picking them up and throwing them up to God. And I can just imagine Jesus in His joy grabbing our fears. His joy is that we would live the abundant life that He came for, not that we are oppressed and we are downcast and discouraged because of the schemes of the enemy. So throwing up our fears to Him. Here I was playing with the idea of putting in a bow, but it just looked like she had a hump. She was the humpback. That was one of her fears, throwing up her humpback. But so I played with it and played, but it just didn't work. I finally just did get rid of it. Thus the erasable pencil. So here I am, just kind of getting her drawn in, and I'm going to start with a cloud in the background when I finally get her done, because I feel like when we are in the midst of a trial, it feels like there's just a cloud on us. Like the rest of the world, you can look out and you can think, well, they're having a good day and they're having a great life, and look at me, I'm like Eeyore with a cloud just constantly following me around. So I have that cloud in the background because I do think that to ignore the cloud, I think, is to not walk in the reality that this is a very broken world and we're very broken people and we walk through some very difficult times. To ignore the cloud is to not acknowledge that there's a cloud and then give it to the Lord and ask for His joy to replace that cloud. Do you know what I mean? So that's my thought, is that gray cloud is real. If you're walking through something, it's real. The pain that you're feeling is real. If you're dealing with sickness, the pain and the fear that you're dealing with, it's real. It's all real. So to just acknowledge it and then to not give it the power. I have a friend that is a cancer survivor twice now, and she never referred to cancer as she said, cancer is the little c and my Christ is the big C, and the big C trumps all. And that was just always her the way that she walked out the second cancer diagnosis. And she's this beautiful, vibrant, gorgeous, retired woman that's just got, I know she went on cruise. She's been everywhere, done everything, because the big C is her redeemer. So it's not that she didn't acknowledge that there was cancer. She did acknowledge it, but she cast it on the Lord, the big C. So that's a lot to say why I've added the cloud in. But like I said, this is a deeply personal psalm. So I do I did connect with it, like almost at every sort of level. You'll notice when I do her hair, the hair is picking up the same tones, values, and colors as the ground, the mess, the rubble that she's sitting in, almost like in Job when he sat upon the ash heap. It's all her hair is reflecting those same colors, and then the leaves are the same colors that she's throwing up in like, here you go, Lord, not with any kind of intrepidation, not trying to hold on to anything, but throwing up everything to the Lord, because I think that sometimes the hair symbolizes for me that sometimes we can start to wear that shame, and we can wear the disgrace, we can wear the disease, we can allow it to become our identity, so that the hair is a reflection of the rubble, but then that we are casting it away. And like, who do you say I am, God? I am not the disease. I am not the circumstance. I am not the victim of adultery. I'm not. This is not who I am. Who do you say I am, Lord? So that's why everything sort of matches, that the leaves, the hair, and the rubble that she's experiencing. So I wanted to read to you from Psalm 55. Just to be like really transparent, I suffered at the hands of church trauma, and I don't think that there's anything worse than church trauma. I don't think, well, no, I'm sure there is something worse. I take that back. You think you've lived it all and done it all, and gosh, you hear some other stories and they're just terrible. But for me, church trauma was an absolute horrific experience for my family to walk through. I think when we're just betrayed by somebody that we just consider faithful and trustworthy, in the church, that I don't know why it just cuts so deep. I guess because it's your family, and you're just cast out of that family one day. You're just told you're not part of the family anymore. So I wanted to walk you through my head and where how this all played out. This little composition with no blue in it, I might add. I have no blue in it. So, woohoo, go Lisa. So I'm reading from the Passion Translation, and I'm starting on verse 13, 55:13. No, I'm lying. Verse 12. It wasn't an enemy who taunted me. If it was my enemy filled with pride and hatred, then I could have endured it. I would have just run away. But it was you, my intimate friend, one like a brother to me. It was you, my advisor, the companion I walked with and worked with. We once had a sweet fellowship with each other. We worshipped in unity as one, celebrating together with God's people. So that was and this, when I was walking through, it's been 4 or 5 years now, but when I was in the midst of that trial and that cloud was on me, it was a cloud. And I remember reading this, just pouring through this psalm, and just thinking about Jesus and Judas. And just think about that he washed the feet of the one that was going to betray him. That will just still undo me. That Jesus never stops loving. It does not matter who we are or what how diabolical our spirits are. Not even just how we're all so capable of so much evil. We're all capable of so many wrong steps, and Jesus never stops, never ever stops his passionate pursuit after our hearts. So just imagine him with Judas's dirty feet and just washing them lovingly. I don't know, that just undoes me. And I don't know, it really does undo me. So okay, so there's that. So that we worshipped in unity as one, celebrating together with God's people. So in this whole trial and turmoil, you can kind of start to really kind of doubt who you are in the body and as a Christian and as a, I don't know, it really just messes you up, So then this psalm goes on to say, I was betrayed by my friend, though I live in peace with him. While he was stretching out his hand of friendship, he was secretly breaking every promise he had ever made to me. His words were smooth and so charming, yet his heart was disloyal and full of hatred. His words so soft as silk, while all the time scheming my demise. So here's what I've learned through it all. Leave all your cares and anxieties at the feet of the Lord, and measureless grace will strengthen you. So that's the encouragement word for me, to leave all my cares and anxieties at the feet of the Lord, and grace will strengthen. So I feel like that was the message that I walked away with. And I don't want to just leave my anxieties, my fears, my cares, my hurts at the feet of the Lord. I want to cast them, throw them in joyful expectation that he takes them. Like, as I'm throwing them up to him, he's picking out each one, and he's kissing it, and he's going to redeem it. So so that would be my that's the whole big message behind this week's page. So, sometimes the drawings can be so simple, but the messages that we get can be so profound. So I'm so grateful that you guys are here on this journey, and that you get to experience the scriptures visually, and you get to break them apart and kind of just see what God is doing in your life and in your heart, and you get to to just experience them visually. I just think it's amazing when you use all sides of your brain to worship and to experience the scriptures. There's just revelation, I think, that breaks forward like that doesn't any other time. So, not in any other time, but in a deeper level than when I just study. I don't know. It just works for me. Maybe that's how my brain is wired. But I wanted to get some depth and into those clouds because they are storm clouds. They are, when we're walking through a nightmare, though, they are storm clouds. We can get hit from each and every side, and that is not made up. So I really wanted the clouds to show the fury of the attack. So just really kind of popping them up a notch. So I think I'm just about done with that cloud, and we're going to start laying in her. So so she is one of the girls that we have done her before, and I think in the daily doodle she is kneeling. But I think when I first started sketching her, I do like a gazillion sketches to try to get to try to get the sketch out in its easiest, its most presentable form. I try to just break it down, get the idea and break it down into the form that I can easily translate across to everybody. So in my original one, she was kind of standing and throwing it up, but as I was drawing and going through the process of completing her, or maturing the drawing, or not even maturing, but coming into context with the drawing and connecting to it. I guess that's it, is that I started to really connect with the drawing and the concepts that were being downloaded. I think it's an act of praise. I think it's an act of worship when we cast our cares upon him, because it takes a vulnerability to say, I don't want this anymore. I don't want it to be my identity. I don't want to wear it. I don't want to get mired down in it. I drop on my knees and I throw it up to you, Jesus. So I felt like, even though we've kind of done this one before, that she had to be on her knees, and she had to be sort of throwing the worries up at him. So that was a progression. I should show you the sketchbook pictures of how long it takes, to get to this stage. It's a whole week of just getting to this stage of what I'm looking at and continuing to connect with it. So do you guys have that? Like, when you're working and you're percolating an image in your head, it's just so fun how he continues to take that image and download more messages and more messages and more messages, and just keep on speaking to us through the scriptures and then through that picture. So it's just such a fulfilling conversation that we get to have with him. I don't know, like, as artists, it's just a very fulfilling way that we get to speak to him. And I guess the thing is that he wires us all for relationship and conversation. So I'd have to imagine that I've said it before on how a mathematician speaks to him through math, but bless, that would be a foreign language. I would need the gift of tongues to interpret any kind of math worship. So drying her all up, I've got my first skin tones in. Sorry, I needed a sip of coffee. I was having a problem trying to get the tone, the value up on that one side of her little face. So I think ultimately I have to use colored pencils to pop it in. Took me just a minute. So I think. So here what I'm doing is I've just got water and I'm kind of scrubbing out a little bit of the paint so that there's highlights in her skin. I don't want it to all be the same value. We always talk about that kind of lights and darks and make it pop. So I was filming in the middle of the day, and the sun I have a window right on my right side, and the sun was just blaring. So that one side of the page gets kind of washed away, I think, a little bit. I think I was trying to figure something. Oh, here I am stumped trying to figure out what color dress I want to have her have. Because I was going for the blue. I have to admit it. Confession is good for the soul. I was going right for the blue. And I was like, no, Lisa, no blue in this one. So I chose pink. It was a big decision. You saw how long it took me to get there. So I am working, just getting that pink on in there. I don't know if I just realized, I don't know if I've got this sped up at all. It seems like I'm painting in real time, not slower. In the beginning, it seemed like I'm sorry, it's going to be a very long video then. I do ultimately get rid of that little square. I don't know what that square is down there, but I do ultimately get rid of that because I don't know what that is. So I'm getting my pink in. I do have to pop it up with a colored pencil and get it a little bit more purple. I do think I'm in real time. I think I forgot to do a speed up. I was wondering why it was so long when I started, because I didn't speed it up. So I'm sorry. This is going to be a long week. Hang in there with me. Hang with me. So what do you think about the color palette? Are you so proud of me with no blue? I can't even stand it. So when you have that little bit of gesso, I just do one layer of gesso on the page, and then you can come back in and just erase with water, like right up there on her little arm, there's a little bit of a cloud. So I can just go back in and sort of pick up paint with the watercolor brush and sort of erase, if you will, the watercolors. Well, thank God my nails are blue. Am I right? I don't know what one of my videos would be without a little bit of pop of blue in there. Am I right or am I wrong? So I think I'm so excited to start with the ground. Okay, we'll do hair. Okay, Lisa, we'll do hair. So remember though that you got the prologue before we even started, that the hair and the ground and all are going to match. So when you're doing the hair, start with your lightest value, and then you can always add in the dimension. I know that I think Renee said that the hair is a booger for her. So Renee, I'm going to say do it by layers and sections. So when you're coming in and you're doing the hair, so here I'm going to have one layer of just the lightest color on there, and then I'll come back in and add darker colors systematically, like, knock it up until eventually I just kind of put in a couple of black highlights, and then kind of work in sections, kind of pay attention to, it's not like just a great big line of hair. You have to break it out into sections, and if you take it and you find your sections first and then put in your shading, it really does make it easier. I hope that makes sense. If it doesn't make sense, we'll be live on the Facebook website. What does that even mean? On the Facebook group, Bible Journaling Through the Psalms. The link will be down below. Every Tuesday night for an hour from 7 to 8, we go live, and we make salt tags together. I'll explain that in a minute if you don't know. And we just have a time of just fellowship and prayer and creating together. So Renee, if you don't get it, pop me a note, like either pop me a note or tell me on the group to go over hair on live, and I'll make sure in the tag that I do hair live so that you get it. So that's your homework, to let me know if you want me to do that. So here you see that I've got the ash heap, for lack of a better word, or it's going in. And you see how her hair and that ground, they match. It took me a long time to not wear the shame of it. It just took me a long time to say, no, this is not who I am. I don't need to identify with what happened to me. I get to identify with Jesus. I get to put my identity in him. And I don't know why that is such a long process. I don't know if it's that long of a process for men. I don't know if it's just me that has that long of a process, but I mean, it was years of just really soul searching, and my eyes were cast down for a long time after that church trauma. It's terrible. So if you've had church trauma, if you've been abused by the church, I have to say to you that this is a safe place here, that we will do life together and we can be community. And every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, I put out on the Facebook group a prayer request, and we have Kimberly prays for everybody. With such diligence. She's such a prayer warrior, and she prays. There is a safe place in the body of Christ. If you've had church trauma, there is a safe place in a body of believers. And sometimes I think we have to sort of step out and step away and just heal. So if you're in a healing place, we're safe for you. We're safe. Come heal with us. Enjoy the Word of God, and just come heal with us. I send you cyber hugs because I've been there, and I know that it leaves like an indelible mark on your soul when it happens. So I get you, and you've got a like-minded sister in Christ here that's ready to reach out and love you well. So welcome back into the fold, my friend. I am trying here to get the shading right, and because of I shaded in the pencil. I always do it every week. I do it. You gotta smack me upside the head when I do. I shade in with the pencil, and then the medium doesn't want to stick. So don't shade with your pencil. See, it looks like, I don't even know. It looks like she's dirty, and we're not dirty. So I don't know. It's not, I still have to work on that. But so Salty Sidewalks, I know I say it every week, but I feel like we get new viewers every week that might not know. So on Tuesday nights, 7 to 8 on the Facebook group, we do a tag together. Well, so far it's a tag. I don't know what we'll do in the future. God only knows. He'll tell me. But so what we do is like an ATC, an arts training card, or a tag, but it's gospel oriented. So we take the gospel. So this week we'll do Psalm 55, and we will create a little tag on it, put the scriptures on it, and then we abandon it. So it's sort of like ATC trading combined with an art abandonment, all grouped together into intentionally spreading the gospel through the arts. So it's called Salty Sidewalks. It's been around for, I don't know, 7-8 years now. We have people that are doing it worldwide, and there's just great testimonies, because what ultimately happens is that it is a love letter from Jesus. Do you see, Renee, how I'm just adding now in the next little bit of layer? So ultimately what happens is it's a love letter from Jesus, and the testimonies that we get back are absolutely amazing, because of course, he knows who it's intended for, and we leave it, and then he brings his beloved and they pick it up, and it's exactly the word of encouragement they need in that moment. And it just is a testimony of his faithfulness, his intimacy in the everyday dealings of our lives, the smallest of things. He's there. He wants to know. He walks with us. So it's a powerful ministry. There's saltysidewalks.com. You can get there that way, or it's linked over to my praiseheart.net site. So join us on Tuesdays. Join us, and we can create together. So So that's what Salty Sidewalks is. I always say that my doodles can be found on praiseheart.net. We are on Psalm 55 this week, but there is an actual, every psalm from 1 to 55 lives on my website, and you can go back in and get the doodles and work on them as you want. They're as long as my website can accommodate so many downloads, attached to the website, they'll be there. So at some point I might have to archive, but as of right now, 1 through 55 are housed on praiseheart.net. Go under the tab of, I think it's events and classes, and look for the Psalm Study online. And then the tab right underneath Psalm Study Online is a visual catalog of all of them. So visually you can kind of see what each one was like. So that's the story with Salty Sidewalks and with our coming together on Tuesday nights. Do you see here now? So I'm coming back in. There would be the darkness behind her neck, right behind her neck, the inside back of her hair. You get that? So if I'm looking at you, the inside back of your hair, so many times people don't put hair back there. They just make it come off the side of the head. But the fact is, like, if you've got long hair, it falls down on your shoulders and it comes behind your neck. So that's dark because it's got the casted shadow from your head, and it's underneath. So that would be dark. So here I'm working in those sections. So there's sort of like a top section, and then there's the side section kind of coming down. So that's what I mean when I'm saying work in sections. She's also very little, so like the sections are not very big. If you're doing a bigger head, it's easier to break out into sections. I mean, her face is probably about the size of a little bit bigger than my thumb print, so she's not that big to have that much section. Hold on, coffee break. So isn't that just so neat, the way he gave that visual of that brown, and then the brown in her hair, and then casting? The brown leaves are coming. Don't get impatient. Hold on now. The brown leaves are coming. So getting that, the brown leaves kind of popping up, to him. I think at this point I've kind of lost her knees. I do have to come back in and reclaim her knees a little bit, because I don't even see them on there now. But I will come back in with water and get him back again. So what I do when I have that much paint, like on the left hand side there, you can see all that brown. That does take a minute to dry. That is a lot of paint that I put on there. So that's going to take just a second to dry. So have you guys noticed when you're working with the gesso and then you come in, when you warm it, the paint and the pencils just, oh my gosh, there's something really nice about having a gesso page, warming it up, and then coming in with a wax colored pencil. It's like luscious. It just goes right on there. It's lovely. So I need to get her dress too. I could not get, my tones were just not popping up enough. So eventually I do come in with the colored pencils and get it sort of popped up a notch. Everything in this palette does kind of stay in the pinks, browns, golds, like it's sort of in that whole realm. So boy, I tell you, when it's not sped up, there's a lot of talking that has to go on. I might just start doing the do do. How does Jeopardy go? Do 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 do. Well, I'm done. And I'm finished with that. I do have to work on the bottom of her dress there. I don't have the wrinkles right yet, but I think I do it with the colored pencil. I'll come in and get it really good. So that side of her face is just being a booger. I think eventually I just take some hair and pop it down over it, so that it's just, I just took care of it with the hair coming up. So there would be a little bit of a shadow, like from her little dress where that sleeve is. There's going to be just a tinge of a shadow. And see here, I'm putting her knees in darker. Lisa, come on, concentrate. Knock those back out. I will have to erase some of that. I do see them now, though. I didn't even see them before. So She is, I think that she's almost done. I have to add in some colored pencils still and get those, I always check the back of the page. You might notice that I always do that because I'm always nervous that it's going to go through, to the other side. And very rarely does. Sometimes if I don't have enough gesso in like a certain spot, it will seep through to the other side, but usually there's so much color and stuff on the other side that you don't even notice it anyway, so it's just all fine. So this I'm using I think that the color was called like black cherry, and I'm using that to, black grape, I lied. I'm using that to pop up the dress a little bit and just define its edges and define exactly what's going on there. Because I feel like that whole bottom is just sort of lost. So just popping it up. And then also I think once I do that, the knees will become obvious again. You know what's funny is that if you even make a mistake, hold on, I need a sip of coffee. If you make a mistake and you've watercolored and you've colored penciled, if your gesso is down, you can kind of scrub even the colored pencil away with water. So really water is a great eraser for when you're working in your Bible. It just will, if you're working in watercolor. I guess even if you're working in gelatos, it would bring it back down again. But not if you used clear gesso to bind it. So never mind, that was a whole big conversation too confusing, so never you mind. But for our purposes, if you're using water and colored pencils and watercolor, you can kind of bring it back a little bit with just a scrub of water. So I think I have, looking at my finished piece here. I am so sorry I did not speed it up. Do you guys like this, or are you about to just lose your mind? I'm so sorry. I have to get it out though, so I would redo it, but I have to get it out. So I'm sorry. So there, see, this one I sped up. I did this one. Boy, that's distracting, isn't it? To go from so slow to so fast, I have to get my head around it. Are your guys' heads exploding right now? So here I'm getting the knees back. Oh, there are the knees. So look at her. I can't wait to have her leaves getting popped up in there. So here, popping in the darkest dark on her hair so that it really does just pop. I just want it to pop. Trying to get that precious little head right. Lord have mercy upon me. So even the eraser, because of the gesso, it will pop. It will not, I guess it could completely erase the colored pencil, but excuse me, you can use it to bring it just down a notch or two, So here using, I think I'm using the black grape. I don't know what I'm using there, what color, but just trying to get those folds in down on the bottom of her dress. So there, see, I think I just finally just put in a little bit of black around her face and just let it be done. Call it done, Lisa. Call it done. So here the leaves, I'm just sort of doing these organic little like point, just these are organic little shapes. I don't know, but they read as a leaf. It might not look exactly like a leaf, but it reads as a leaf. I think it does. So they're not anything. They're not anything complicated. They're just 1, 2, 3, 4, like 5 little points around. And then I did want to come in with other colors and just sort of make it. I feel like that is such freedom, that visual that he gives of just don't, and then, so those little guys, I felt like sometimes the leaves would actually take flight and fly to him. Like if we can truly let go and we can truly let him take it, it flies to him, so that's why a couple of them looked like little birds almost. So I love that. So I know that. So it looks like it stays right on my page. It doesn't. It goes everywhere. I clean up my mat afterwards, and there's just little paint splatters everywhere. But I feel like it's messy. When we are in under that cloud and we have to choose to worship him and give it to him. It's a messy process because we just keep taking it back, right? So it is just this messy process between heaven and earth and heaven and earth and heaven and earth. So I wanted to get that process down. And then ultimately I'm going to put the lines in that show when we finally really cast it up at him. So here you see the splatters are going between heaven and earth, heaven and earth. Am I taking it? Am I giving it? Am I taking it? Am I giving it? Am I taking it? Am I giving it? But then eventually I'm going to give it, like big time give it. So I think I have so much medium on it at this point. It's really not taking much more of the white or anything. It's just sort of, I'm kind of saturated the paper. The paper's tired. The paper's just like, Lord, no more, no more. I do put a border around this one. I feel like it doesn't look finished just like that. It just looks like to me like it's just begging for some structure on the outside of the pages. I don't know where I went. Sometimes I just go places. I don't know. Lisa, come back. Lisa, we're doing a video. Lisa, pick it up. I do hope that, there I go. I was going to say, I hope I moved my book back up again. Sometimes you get lost in the, see, that's it. That's really saying, no, you take it. I don't want it. I don't want this anymore. I don't want to deal with this anymore. I don't want this to be my identity. I don't want this. I don't want to wear this. This is not who I am. And I get to walk in the freedom of Christ. So I love when she just finally throws it all up at him. Right up to the sky. You take it, Jesus. I guess Jesus take the wheel, right? So I broke out of my checkerboard. I figured you guys must be getting bored with, I'm getting bored, like with the same old. So I just have my zigzag because I think the zigzags I have to have. And then just like a little drop stitch that it looks like it was almost stitched in. So, and I do feel like that does somehow give it the border that I needed and kind of contains it and finishes it. It just looks a lot more finished to me with that just a little hint of a border. It's not even a lot of a border, just a little hint of a border. I didn't put it where the leaves are. I let the page, the cloud and the leaves go off the page. So here I'm trying. This is how tired my page got. I tried to go into it with white pencil, would not go over it. Look, it's just like tired. So that's not working. Nope. So I'm like, you know what? That's not going to happen. So, I don't know why. I didn't feel like I put that much paint on it. I guess on the leaves maybe I did, but in the cloud I did too. The cloud I used for the white. I used a gouache, so that can be a little bit heavier. So I'm doing my lettering with brown, keeping it sort of in that same color palette of, I guess, autumn, right? It's autumn now. I have a friend up in Canada. It has already snowed in Canada. It is still 90 degrees in the south. I wish it would snow in the south. We have got so many mosquitoes here. It is like you go outside and you are swarmed. Send the snow. Send frost. I'll just take frost at this point. Kill those little boogers. It's terrible. Like you're practically breathing them in. I don't know. After the hurricane, it's just been terrible. I hate mosquitoes. But I think my worst bug is like a tick. I just think those are absolutely repulsive, nasty little critters. So, I've got to still put in my dots and my highlights. So, not that you can see anything I'm doing. Big old hand is right there in the middle. But, I'm putting the dots in like I do. So I guess I've got to also kind of work on some new lettering. It'll come. We'll get there. So that's going to wrap up Psalm 55, guys. I hope to see you on the Facebook page on Tuesday nights. I'll catch you then. Thanks, guys. Bye.